This video probably isn't for all of you. Maybe you enjoy social distancing, or you're getting paid to be home and relax right now, or for whatever reason your joy in the Lord is greater than ever, then this maybe isn't for you. But if you, like me, have had some struggle with your attitude during this coronavirus situation, then I hope this might help. Now, you might describe that attitude struggle in different ways. Maybe it's irritability or anxiety or grumpiness or impatience or argumentativeness or anything along those lines. I want to suggest a very first step that we need to take, and it's simply this. We need to view it as a spiritual issue. Now, that might seem really obvious, but when it comes to our bad attitudes, we tend to be pretty quick to view them as either inevitable or excusable, as if they just happen to us, and then there's nothing we can do about it until they just go away. But if we think that way, we're just going to stay stuck in those bad attitudes, because just like our words come from our hearts, our attitudes actually come from our hearts. Attitudes don't happen to us. Circumstances happen to us. And attitudes are what come out of our heart in response to those circumstances. So with bad attitudes in particular, it's very important that we admit that there's sin. For example, Philippians 2, verse 14, do all things without grumbling or disputing. The Greek dictionary says that the word translated grumblings was used for complaint or displeasure expressed in murmuring. That might sound kind of familiar. So God commands us not to do that. That's why we need to view it as a spiritual issue and ask God to be working in our hearts to change what it is in our hearts that's responding to our circumstances like that. So we need to kind of bring our grumbling out into the light. What are we grumbling about? What changes have upset us? What have we lost that is bothering us? What can't we do now that is irritating us? And then we ask, what's God's perspective on this? Or what would the Bible say about this? What would be a biblical way to think about what I've lost, or what's changed, or what I can't do right now that I wish I could do? So rather than just excusing our bad attitudes and waiting for them to go away, we bring them out into the light, we examine them. Why is my heart responding like this? How can I reconnect with God about this and let Him change my heart and kind of lead me into a new stage of growth here? Bad attitudes are an indication that there's a new stage of growth that could happen for our hearts. So the first step to dealing with your bad attitude is to view it as a spiritual issue. Now, before we finish, let me briefly point out two other interesting connections from Philippians 2, verse 14. And the first of all, that word grumbling only shows up two other times in the New Testament. And one of them is 1 Peter 4, verse 9, which says, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. That's kind of interesting because right now, many of you probably can't use your homes to show hospitality in the normal way that we'd think of hospitality. And yet, right now, for some of you, there is more pressure on you to show hospitality to those within your home than ever before. Just this morning, I looked at Nadia's car seat and thought, it's been almost 10 days since she's been in that car seat because there hasn't been anywhere to take her. And so right now, more than ever, we're having to show hospitality to one another in our homes. And Peter says, make sure you show hospitality without grumbling. One other interesting thing, bad attitudes are kind of like the basket that covers up our light so that it doesn't shine. And right now, our lights need to be shining. See, that's what Philippians 2 says. Do all things without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent, children of God without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. The bad attitude covers up the light. So let's view our bad attitudes as spiritual issues and let God work in our hearts about them so that we can shine during this time.